Emperor Xanth sent 500 of his best warships to collect Earth's annual tribute, only to watch helplessly as 500,000 human dreadnoughts dropped out of hyperspace, disintegrating his once invincible armada with concentrated Nova lance fire before his very eyes. The arrogant Draconis ruler had underestimated his enemy, a grave mistake compounded over centuries of human subjugation and exploitation. In the year 2257, the ruthless Emperor Xanth dispatched an envoy to Earth with an ultimatum: submit to Draconis rule and provide annual tribute in resources, technology, and human slaves, or face annihilation. Confident in his vast empire's might, Xanth never expected Earth to refuse. But the United Earth Federation did just that, prompting the enraged emperor to declare humanity a primitive, inferior species that must be brought to heel. Newly promoted Admiral Stephen Lewis, a brilliant strategist, was tasked with leading humanity's defense against the impending Draconis onslaught. Knowing Earth's forces were outmatched, he frantically mobilized every available ship and soldier while racing to implement audacious plans and cutting-edge technological innovations to even the odds. As news of the Empire's invasion threat and their sinister reputation spread, panic gripped the populace. Riots and unrest pushed the world government to the brink of collapse. Stephen faced a monumental challenge: repel the Draconis attack while keeping humanity united in the face of existential destruction. Poring over intelligence reports, Stephen noted critical weaknesses in the Empire's sprawling dominion. The Draconis relied on fear and oppression to maintain control, while their technology had stagnated from lack of innovation. Humanity, in contrast, had been advancing in leaps and bounds and possessed several key advantages Xanth was unaware of. As Draconis warships converged on Earth, a secret transmission from deep in enemy territory reached Stephen. His network of spies and resistance fighters had come through, uncovering a fatal flaw in the Draconis fleet's command and control systems. Everything hinged on this moment. Failure meant the end of human civilization. But if Stephen's gambit paid off, it would be remembered as the day humanity stood its ground and sent the Draconis Empire running. As the Draconis armada bore down on Earth, their ships jam-packed with weapons and soldiers hungry for conquest, Admiral Stephen Lewis watched the tactical display with a mixture of anticipation and trepidation. Every ship, every crew member, every weapon was in place according to his carefully crafted plan. But would it be enough against the might of the Empire? "All ships, commence attack!" Stephen barked into the comm. On his command, Earth's fleet of 500,000 warships shimmered into existence, dropping out of hyperspace on the Draconis flanks in a pincer formation. Enhanced with breakthrough stealth technologies and advanced weaponry, they caught the enemy completely off guard. The Draconis ships scrambled to respond, their formations scattering as Earth's vessels opened fire. But before they could mount a coherent defense, Stephen's trap was sprung. A computer virus, insidiously planted by Earth's spies and resistance fighters, wormed its way through the Draconis command and control systems. Chaos erupted as infected ships lost power, drifting helplessly, while others turned their guns on each other, unable to distinguish friend from foe amidst the confusion. Seizing the moment, Stephen pointed at the Draconis flagship on the display. "Focus all fire on Emperor Xanth's ship. We take him out and the head is cut off the snake." Earth's ships surged forward, missiles, railgun rounds, and directed energy weapons pummeling the massive vessel's shields in relentless waves. The flagship shuddered under the onslaught, its defenses straining to the breaking point. Just as the shields were about to fail, a swarm of strike craft erupted from the flagship's hangar bays. "Admiral, we've got incoming," Stephen's sensor officer reported. "It looks like Xanth's elite guard, and they're making a run for it." Stephen gritted his teeth. He had anticipated this contingency. Xanth was too much of a coward to go down with his ship. "Red Squadron, with me!" Stephen climbed into his personal fighter, a sleek and deadly craft equipped with the latest in human ingenuity. "We're going to cut off Xanth's escape. Don't let him slip away." Stephen and his hand-picked squadron of ace pilots tore through space, intercepting Xanth's guards in a vicious dogfight. Lasers flashed and missiles streaked across the void as the two sides clashed, dancing a lethal ballet amidst the tumult of the larger battle. One by one, Stephen and his pilots outmaneuvered and outgunned Xanth super soldiers, their genetically enhanced reflexes and high-tech ships proving no match for human skill and tenacity. But even as the last of the Emperor's guards were blasted to oblivion, Stephen caught sight of a small escape pod jetting away from the doomed flagship. "There goes Xanth, the slimy worm," Stephen muttered darkly. He was about to pursue when the Draconis flagship exploded behind him, the shockwave buffeting his fighter. All around, the Draconis armada fell into disarray, ships fleeing in panic as Earth's forces pressed the attack. It was a rout, the invaders driven back with heavy losses. As the adrenaline of battle faded, Stephen felt a surge of elation tempered by grim reality. They had won the day, struck a blow for Earth and all the oppressed species of the galaxy, but he knew in his bones that this was only the beginning. Xanth was still out there, no doubt consumed with rage and already plotting his revenge. The Draconis Empire would regroup, rebuild, and return with a vengeance. But Earth would be ready. Stephen would make sure of it. He would fortify their defenses, reach out to potential allies, and do whatever it took to ensure humanity's survival and freedom. The road ahead would be long and bloody, a war unlike any Earth had ever seen, but they would rise to the challenge. They had to. The future of the galaxy hung in the balance. Stephen turned his fighter back toward the human fleet, his mind already racing with plans and contingencies. The battle was over, but the war had only just begun. Stephen stood at the helm of Earth's largest shipyard, watching as mammoth factory complexes churned out warships at breakneck speed. The air buzzed with the constant hum of machinery and welding torches. Workers swarmed over half-finished hulls like ants, their shifts running around the clock. "How many ships can we produce in a month?" Stephen asked the shipyard foreman. "At current capacity, about 5,000 destroyers or 500 dreadnoughts, sir. But we're pushing our people to the limit." Stephen nodded grimly. "Keep pushing. The Draconis won't give us time to catch our breath." He left the shipyard and headed to the Global Defense Command Center. Screens displayed real-time updates on Earth's military buildup. Resource allocation graphs showed nearly all of the planet's industrial output diverted to the war effort. "Sir, conscription numbers are up 500% this week," an aide reported, "but we're struggling to equip and train them fast enough." "Understood. Prioritize getting them basic combat skills. We can worry about advanced training later, if we survive that long." Stephen's comlink chimed. It was his chief of intelligence. "Admiral, we've made contact with several potential allies. The Zorn Collective and Creel Imperium both expressed interest in joining forces against the Draconis." "Excellent work. Set up secure channels and—" The intel chief cut him off. "Sir, there's more. We've been approached by a high-level Draconis defector. Says his name is Targon." Stephen's eyes widened. "Patch him through immediately." A hologram flickered to life, revealing a scarred, reptilian face. "Admiral Lewis, I am Targon, former general of the Draconis Third Fleet. I lead a network of resistance cells within the Empire." "Oh, why should we trust you?" Stephen demanded. Targon's eyes narrowed. "Because I have information that could save your species. Xanth is developing new superweapons, antimatter warheads, and an experimental wormhole drive. If he succeeds, your victory will be short-lived." Stephen cursed under his breath. "Tell me everything." As Targon spoke, Stephen's mind raced. They needed to accelerate their own weapons research. He immediately contacted Earth's top scientists. "I'm authorizing unlimited resources for 3 new programs," Stephen told them. "Trans-warp drives, shield frequency cracking, and weaponized wormholes. I don't care if it sounds impossible. Make it happen." Days blurred into weeks as Earth's war machine kicked into overdrive. But even as humanity prepared for the coming storm, grim news trickled in from the outer colonies. "Sir, we're receiving reports of Draconis forces brutalizing human settlements," an officer reported, his face ashen. "Millions enslaved or worse." Stephen's fists clenched as he watched footage of Draconis troops rounding up colonists. The screams of terrified children filled the command center. Send this to every media outlet on Earth, Stephen ordered. The people need to know what we're fighting against. Rage and horror swept across the planet. Recruitment centers were flooded with volunteers. Factory workers pulled double and triple shifts. The entire human race united in fierce dedication to survive. As Stephen looked out over the vast armada assembling in Earth orbit, he knew the real war was only beginning. Humanity had bloodied the Draconis Empire's nose, but the wounded beast would soon return, stronger and more vicious than ever. The hope of the universe hung in the balance, and Admiral Stephen Lewis would do whatever it took to ensure humanity emerged victorious. Stephen stared out the viewport of his command ship, watching Earth's orbital shipyards churn out vessel after vessel. The constant flashes of welding torches and the movement of massive hull plates brought a small measure of comfort, but he knew it wasn't enough. Not against the full might of the Draconis Empire. He turned to his intelligence chief. What's the status on our outreach efforts? We've made contact with several promising groups, sir. The Krell resistance on Proxima 3 responded positively to our offer of arms, and the Zephyrian underground is eager for tactical support. Stephen nodded. Good. Keep pushing. We need every ally we can get. A priority alert flashed on his console. Stephen's heart raced as he read the message. Get me a secure line to Chieftain Krivlock of the Goldrax. Now. Moments later, the reptilian face of Krivlock filled the screen. His scales were dull and scarred, eyes burning with barely contained rage. Admiral Lewis, Krivlock hissed. Word of your victory has spread, even to the darkest corners of Draconis space. Perhaps there is hope after all. We struck a blow, but the war is far from finished, Stephen replied. That's why I'm reaching out. We need allies, and you need a chance to throw off your chains. Together, we might stand a chance. Krivlock's tongue flicked out, tasting the air. The Goldrax have suffered under Xanth's boot for too long. What do you propose? A partnership. We provide you with weapons, intel, whatever you need to expand your insurgency. In return, you feed us information on Draconis movements and pledge to join the fight when the time comes. The Goldrax chieftain was silent for a long moment. Agreed, but know this, human. If you betray us, our vengeance will be swift and merciless. Understood, Stephen said. Let's get to work. Over the next weeks, the alliance bore fruit. Goldrax operatives slipped vital intelligence to human handlers. Stephen pored over the reports, his blood running cold as he pieced together the fragments. Sir, his XO said, bursting into the war room, you need to see this. The holographic display flickered to life, showing schematics for a massive warhead. Stephen's eyes widened as he took in the details. The Valkyr, he breathed. It's worse than we thought. This thing could crack Earth open like an egg. That's not all, the XO continued. Long-range scans show Xanth is gathering a massive fleet. Intel suggests he plans to lead the attack personally. Stephen's mind raced. They needed more time, more ships, more everything. An idea began to form. Get me the head of R&D, he ordered, and patch in Krivlock. I think I know how we can buy ourselves a fighting chance. Hours later, Stephen laid out his audacious plan to a gathering of human and Goldrax leaders. It's risky, he admitted, but if we can identify weaknesses in Draconis shielding, while the Goldrax keep them off balance with hit-and-run attacks, we might just pull this off. A small strike team could infiltrate the shipyards and take out the Valkyr before it's operational. Krivlock's image nodded approvingly. My warriors stand ready, Admiral. We will sow chaos across 1,000 worlds if that's what it takes. As the Alliance mobilized, events unfolded rapidly on the Draconis homeworld. Xanth paced before a row of kneeling officers, his claws leaving gouges in the floor. Incompetence, he roared. You assured me Earth would fall easily, yet here we are, humiliated before the galaxy. With a savage gesture, he ordered their executions. As the bodies were dragged away, Xanth turned to a group of hardened veterans. You now command my forces, he snarled. Prepare the fleet, ready the Valkyr. We will reduce Earth to molten slag and grind humanity's bones to dust. But in their haste to rearm, corners were cut, safeguards ignored. The Empire's mighty war machine, stretched thin by battle and purges, began to show hairline cracks. Across the stars, forces gathered, alliances forged in desperation, weapons of unimaginable power primed for unleashing. The galaxy held its breath, knowing the next clash between humanity and the Draconis Empire would shape the fate of countless worlds for millennia to come. The Draconis shipyard loomed before them, a sprawling monstrosity of metal and malice. Admiral Stephen Lewis led his strike team through shadowy corridors, their footsteps echoing in the eerie silence. They reached the Valkyr's main reactor chamber, fingers tightening on their weapons. "Plant the charges," Stephen ordered. "We have minutes before—" Alarms blared. Draconis shock troops poured in from every entrance, plasma bolts sizzling through the air. "Cover me!" Kurvlock roared, his scaled hands flying over the reactor controls. Stephen dove behind a console, returning fire. The air filled with acrid smoke and the screams of the wounded. A human soldier collapsed beside him, chest smoking from a direct hit. "Reactors primed to overload," Kurvlock shouted over the chaos. "We need to—" His words cut off in a wet gurgle as a plasma bolt caught him in the throat. Stephen watched in horror as the Goldrax leader crumpled to the floor. "Fall back!" Stephen yelled, providing covering fire as his remaining team retreated. They fought their way to the extraction point, leaving a trail of bodies, both friend and foe, in their wake. As they launched into space, the Valkyr shipyard erupted in a blinding flash. Aboard his flagship, Emperor Xanth paced before a sea of screens displaying his assembled armada. "My Emperor," a technician stammered, "the Valkyr project—" "Silence," Xanth snarled. "We strike now. Earth burns today." "But sire, the safety protocols—" Xanth's claws flashed out, raking across the technician's face. "Engage transwarp, now!" The Draconis fleet surged forward, reality warping around them as they hurtled toward Earth. In Earth's orbital command center, Stephen stood before a holographic display of the solar system. His wounds from the Valkyr mission still ached, a constant reminder of their losses. "Sir," his second-in-command reported, "Draconis signatures detected. They're reverting from transwarp." Stephen's eyes hardened. "Activate the disruptor network." Across the system, hidden installations hummed to life. As the Draconis fleet emerged, space itself seemed to twist and buckle. Xanth's flagship bridge descended into chaos as alarms wailed. Outside the viewports, hundreds of ships shuddered and broke apart, caught in impossible geometries of warped space-time. "What's happening?" Xanth roared, gripping his command chair as the ship lurched violently. Before anyone could answer, the hull breached. Human assault teams swarmed onto the bridge, weapons blazing. Xanth leapt into the fray, cybernetic implants glowing as he tore through the first wave of attackers. His claws ripped through armor and flesh with equal ease. Stephen charged forward, his own combat enhancements allowing him to match Xanth blow for blow. They grappled across the bridge, locked in mortal combat as the battle raged around them. With a final surge of strength, Stephen drove his combat knife up under Xanth's chin. The Emperor's eyes went wide, then glazed over as he slumped to the deck. In the aftermath, Stephen surveyed the carnage from the shattered remains of Earth's orbital defense platforms. The victories had come at a staggering cost. "Sir," an aide approached, tablet in hand, "the coalition worlds are requesting guidance on how to proceed." Stephen nodded wearily. Tell them we've won the battle, but the war is a long way to go."
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.